What would you do if the person you loved stopped trusting you? What would you do if he believed lies from his family more than your words? This is the story of my life. I want to share it with you because maybe you feel alone too. Maybe you are living in pain. If my story helps even one person, then sharing is worth it. My name is Sarah. I am 27 years old. I live in Manchester in a small flat near the city. Today I want to tell you what happened when my husband listened to his sister instead of me. I hope you will stay with me until the end. I met Jason when I was 23 years old. He worked in an office. I worked in a small shop. He came to the shop one afternoon to buy a gift for his mother. We started talking. He was quiet, but his eyes were kind. He asked me if I wanted tea the next week. I said yes. We met in a cafe and talked for 3 hours. I felt happy and safe with him. If you enjoy listening to true emotional stories, please support me, subscribe, share this video, and write a comment below. Tell me if you have ever felt the same. Your support helps me keep going. We started dating. He was not a man who spoke a lot, but when he did, I listened carefully. He always asked how my day was. He walked him home when it was late. I thought he was different from other men. After 1 year, he asked me to marry him. My answer was yes. Our wedding was small. We only invited close family and friends. I wore a white dress. He wore a dark suit. My heart was full of hope that day. I looked at him and thought, this is the man I will spend my life with. After the wedding, we moved into a small flat. It was not big, but I loved it. I cleaned it and bought flowers for the table. Every evening we made tea together. Sometimes we watched films, sometimes we just talked. I felt safe in that flat, but soon his sister Emily came to stay with us. She said she would stay for 2 weeks, but she stayed for months. She was not kind to me. She made comments about my clothes. She said my food was not good. She asked Jason why he chose me. Every word hurt. I wanted Jason to tell her to stop, but he never did. He only said, "She is my sister, Sarah, please understand." I stayed quiet, but inside I felt small. One morning, I woke up and felt different. I was tired and sick. I bought a pregnancy test. When I saw the result, I cried. I was happy. I wanted a child. I wanted to be a mother. That evening, I told Jason. He smiled a little, but he did not look very happy. He said, "Let's not tell anyone yet." He was surprised, but I agreed. 2 weeks later, everything broke. Jason came home late one evening. He sat down at the table. His face was cold. I asked, "Are you okay?" He said, "Emily told me something." My heart beat fast. He said, "She thinks the baby is not mine." I felt like I could not breathe. I said, "What? That is not true." He looked at me and said, "She saw you with another man last week." I remembered that day. It was raining. My coworker gave me a lift. He was only helping me, that was all. I told Jason the truth. Both did not believe me. He said, "You did not tell me everything." I said, "Jason, please. I would never lie to you. This baby is yours." But he did not listen. That night, he slept on the couch. The next morning, he left early for work. He did not say goodbye. My hands shook as I made tea. I heard Emily in the kitchen later. She was speaking quietly with Jason as she said, "She is hiding something. You must open your eyes." Jason did not answer, but I could see doubt in his face. Days passed. Jason was not the same. He spoke less. He looked at me with suspicion. I cried at night when he could not see me. I wanted him to hold me, but he turned away. One evening, he came home early. He stood by the door with a bag in his hand. He said, "I need time. I will stay with Mom for a while." My eyes filled with tears. "Please don't go," I said. "I need you, the baby needs you." He shook his head and walked out. I fell to the floor and cried until I was tired. After he left, I tried to call my mother. She lived far away in another country. When I told her what happened, she said, "You are strong, you will survive this, you are not alone, you have your baby." Her words gave me a little strength, but I still felt very sad. I went to the doctor for my checkups alone. I sat in the waiting room with other women who had partners next to them. I wanted Jason to be with him, but he was not. I looked at the small baby picture on the screen. and I agreed quietly. One evening when I came home from the doctor, Emily was gone. She had packed her things and left. I felt some relief, but I was still alone in the flat. That night, I spoke softly to my baby. I said, I will take care of you. Even if it is only us, I will protect you. I had little money. I could not depend on Jason. I had to do something. I started making small baby gift baskets with toys and ribbons. I made one for myself. My neighbor, Mrs. Brown, saw it and asked if she could buy one for her niece. She gave me £10. I was so grateful. I felt like I had a small start. I made more baskets and took pictures with my phone. I shared them online. Slowly, people started to order. Each basket gave me a little hope. I was doing something. I was not waiting anymore. Mrs. Brown helped me often. She came on weekends and tied ribbons with me. She brought fruit and sometimes made soup. She never asked too many questions, she just stayed near me. One day she said, "You are stronger than you think, Sarah. He left you, but you are still here, you are building a life." I smiled and felt a small light in my heart. One evening when the sun was low, my phone rang. I looked at the screen. It was Jason. My hand shook. I answered. His voice was quiet. He said, "I know the truth now. Emily lied, she wanted to hurt you. I am sorry. I want to come back. I listened but did not speak for a long time. Then I said, "You did not believe me. You left me when I needed you. I am not the same woman now." I ended the call. I did not cry. I felt calm. I looked down at my stomach and touched it softly. I said to my baby, "The only love I need is yours." That night, I slept in peace for the first time in many weeks. After that night, I knew my life had changed. Jason was gone, but I was still here. I had my baby and I had a small start with my gift baskets. I told myself each day, I must stay strong. I must try. Some days I cried in the morning, but then I stood up and worked. The baby inside me gave me strength. When I felt a small kick, I smiled. I said, "You are me reason now." I spoke to my baby often. I said good morning, good night, and sometimes I told small stories. My flat was quiet, but when I spoke to the baby, I felt less alone. Orders for the baskets grew slowly. One person told another. Soon, I had 3 orders in a week. I packed them with ribbons and small toys. I wrote thank you on a card and plastered it inside. People liked my work. They told me, "Your baskets make people smile." That gave me hope. Mrs. Brown was always near. She was more than a neighbor now, she was like family. She came over with fruit or sometimes she brought tea. She said, "I don't want you to feel alone." I looked at her and said, "Thank you. I do not know what I would do without you." One afternoon, I walked to the shop to buy milk. I moved slowly because my stomach was big now. On the way home, a woman stopped me. She said, "Are you the one who makes the baskets?" My friend showed me. I said, "Yes." She asked me to make one for her sister. I agreed. That was the first time a stranger asked me directly. My heart felt warm. But even with small happiness, some nights were hard. I lay in bed and thought about Jason. It thought about how he looked at me with doubt in his eyes. That look hurt more than words. I remembered the way he walked out with his bag. My tears wet the pillow, but I wiped them away. I said to myself, no more begging. And no more waiting. I will not cry for him again. Months passed. My stomach grew bigger. People on the street smiled at me. Some said, "Congratulations." I smiled back, but inside I still felt heavy. I wanted to believe the world was kind, but Jason's words still lived in my mind. One day, Mrs. Brown said, "Come with me to the community center. They are having a small market. You can sell your baskets there." I was nervous. I said, "What if no one buys?" She smiled and said, "At least people will see your work." So, we went. I placed 10 baskets on a small table. I stood there and waited. At first, no one came. Then, one woman stopped. She picked up a basket and smiled. She said, "This is lovely. I will take it." Soon, another person came. By the end of the day, I sold 7 baskets. I could not believe it. I hugged Mrs. Brown and said, "You were right. Pia Pleto liked my work." From that day, I worked harder. I made new designs. I added small clothes for babies, small bottles, and soft toys. I spent hours in me flat working and smiling. Each basket was not just a product. It was a piece off my heart, but life was not easy. Sometimes I felt tired. My back hurt. My legs hurt. I wanted Jason to be there to carry things, to make tea, but he was not there, and each time I remembered that, I felt stronger because I was doing it alone. Then one evening the pain started. It was sharp and heavy. I knew the baby was coming. I called an ambulance. They took me to the hospital. I was scared. I wanted to hold someone's hand, but there was no one. I closed my eyes and whispered, "Please be safe, my baby." Hours later, I heard a cry. A small, strong cry. They placed a baby girl in me arms. She was tiny, soft, and perfect. Her fingers wrapped around mine. I cried, but this time the tears were of joy. I said, "Hello, my love, you are my light." I named her Sophie. She was my reason to live. Every night I looked at her face and felt peace. I kissed her forehead and said, "We will be okay. I promise." Mrs. Brown came to visit us. She brought flowers and clothes. She looked at Sophie and said, "She is beautiful, just like her mother." My heart was full. I worked less for some weeks, but slowly I started again. I made baskets when Sophie slept. I rocked her in one arm and worked with the other. It was hard. Booty smiled because now I had someone to fight for. One evening, my phone rang. I looked at screen. It was Jason again. My heart raced. I picked up. His voice was quiet. He said, "I heard about the baby. I want to see her." My hands shook. I said, "You left us. You doubted me. Why now?" He said, "I made a mistake. Please let me see my daughter." I stayed silent for a while. Then I said, "I will not stop you from seeing her, but you cannot come back into my life like before. You lost that chance." When he came, he looked nervous. He sat in the chair and looked at Sophie, eyes filled with tears. He whispered, "She looks like me." I stood near and watched. My heart was calm. I was not angry anymore. I only felt distance. After he left, I sat with Sophie in my arms. I kissed her small hand and whispered, "He is only a visitor now. You and I, we are the family." From that day, I did not think much about Jason. I thought only about Sophie Ann. The small business I was building, each basket I sold, gave me money to buy food and clothes. Each smile from a customer gave me courage. At night when Sophie slept, I sometimes spoke to her softly. I said, "One day you will know what happened. One day you will know that your mother fought for you. You will know that I chose you even when others walked away." The pain of the past was still in my heart, but it was softer now. Sophie's small hands healed me a little each day, and Mrs. Brown's kindness showed me that family is not only blood. Family is who stays with you when you are broken. That is how I lived in those first months. Alone, but also not alone or broken, but also stronger. I was not the same woman who begged Jason to stay. I was Sarah, a mother, and I had a reason to keep going. Life with Sophie was not easy, but it was full of love. She woke up many times at night. Sometimes she cried for hours. I was tired, but I looked at her small face and felt strong again. Each day I made food, cleaned, and worked on my baskets while taking care of her. My life was not simple anymore, but it was real. And it was mine. People in the neighborhood started to know me. They said, "You are the woman who makes baskets, right?" I said, "Yes." And smiled. Some people ordered. Some people only said kind words. Each small word of support made me feel part of the community. I was not invisible anymore. Mrs. Brown came often. She brought food when I was too tired to cook. She held Sophie so I could rest for 1 hour. Sometimes we just sat in silence. She told me, "You are doing very well, Sarah. You are a good mother." I cried when I heard that because deep inside I always asked myself if I was enough. As Sophie grew, my love grew, too. She smiled for the first time when she was 2 months old. That smile felt like sunlight after a long dark night. I said, "You are my gift. You are the best thing in my life." I kissed her cheeks and laughed. But life also brought new challenges. Money was still a problem. Sometimes I had only enough for rent and food. I could not buy new clothes for myself. I wore the same old shoes every day. I did not care much, but sometimes I looked in the mirror and thought, I look tired. I look old. Then I looked at Sophie and said, you are my reason, that is enough. One evening, Jason called again. He hesitated but answered. He said, I want to help you. I want to give money for the baby. I thought for a long moment. Then I said, if you want to help, you can. But do not think this means we are together again. I do not trust you anymore. He was quiet for a few seconds. Then he said, I understand. He started sending some money each month. It was not much, but it helped. I used it only for Sophie's needs. I never spent it on myself. Each time the money came, I told myself, this is for her, not for me. He left me, but he must still be a father. Months passed. My small business grew slowly. I joined more markets at the community center. I met other women who also sold things. Some made candles, some made clothes. We talked and laughed together. For the first time since Jason left, I felt I had friends again. One of the women, Claire, said, you should open a small page online. More people can see your baskets. I was nervous. I said, what if no one buys? She smiled and said, at least people will know you are here. So, I tried. I made a simple page with pictures. To my surprise, orders came from outside me town, too. I worked late at night while Sophie slept, but I felt proud. One Sunday, Jason came to visit Sophie. He held her and looked at me. He said, I miss our life. I want to try again. I looked at him calmly. I said, you had your chance, you left me when I needed you most. I cannot go back. I do not hate you, Booty will not be your wife again. His eyes looked sad, but I did not change my words. I was not angry. I was not crying. I was only strong. After he left, I sat on the sofa with Sophie. I whispered, I did it. I spoke me truth. I am free. My heart felt light. That night, I slept well. Years passed. Sophie grew. She learned to walk, then to speak. She called me Mama in a sweet, small voice. Each time I heard it, I smiled. She was my joy. She was the reason I kept moving forward. My baskets business also grew. I sold more and more. I saved money slowly. One day, I told Mrs. Brown. I want to move to a bigger place. Sophie needs space to play. She hugged me and said, you can do it. After some months, he had enough for a deposit on a new flat. It was not very big, but it had 2 rooms. Sophie had her own small room. I painted the walls light pink and put toys on a shelf. When she saw it, she laughed and clapped her hands. My heart was full. One evening, I sat by the window with a cup of tea. Sophie was asleep in her new room. I thought about the past. I thought about the night Jason told me the baby was not his. I thought about the day he walked out. I remembered the silence in the flat. I remembered my tears, but then I thought about now. I had a daughter. I had work. I had hope. I was not broken anymore. I said to myself, I lost a husband, Booty found myself. I found my strength. Sometimes Jason still came to see Sophie. He was kind to her and I was glad for that. But for me, he was only a visitor. I never looked at him with love again. He was a part of my past, not my future. Mrs. Brown grew older, but she was still near. She came every week, even if just for tea. She said, you are like my daughter now. I held her hand and said, and you are like my mother. That bond gave me comfort. Now when I tell mystery, I do not feel only pain. I also feel pride. I survived. I worked. I raised my daughter. I built a new life. If you are listening now and you feel broken, I want to tell you something. Do not give up. Even if people leave you, you can stand. Even if family doubts you, you can still grow. Pain is heavy, but hope can be stronger. I believed my life was over when Jason left me, but it was not over. It was only a new beginning. And today, when I look at Sophie's smile, I know that leaving the past behind was the best choice I ever